Check, check. This is Key. Remind me the name of the platform.
Thinking out loud.
Thank you. Thinking out loud. Right now, I feel really good. I feel like my presence is very important in this moment, not from an ego standpoint, but today it's just been a very fulfilling day, like being able to talk through your journey and where you've been, your highs and your lows, and people just being curious about it is a good feeling. So yeah, I feel very good today in this current moment. This is the hardest it's ever been to be who I am, or to be in my position of trying to help artists get on the other side. I think right now is the hardest time it's ever been to be a musician and to be a talented musician, because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of platforms, there's a lot of boxes you have to check to do your job. So honestly, in general, I've been not discouraged. Discouraged wouldn't be the word, but it's heavy a bit, just trying to weed through all the stuff to get on the other side. So I've been trying not to be getting in this imposter syndrome space, because that can happen really easily. Even though I've been in the industry, I've been doing what I've been doing for so long, it's a constant thing on my mind of how to do better, how to plug all the holes. And then in the world in general, there's just so much going on that it's hard to just push through some days. Yesterday, I had to hit a friend of mine on some very vulnerable moment things, texting him yo, do you ever get imposter syndrome? Do you ever feel like you don't know what you're doing? And I think sometimes the feeling of not feeling alone can make you feel better. So I think it's important when you're feeling in those moments just to kind of reach out to some people you trust and feel safe around and feel safe venting to, which is not a whole lot of people for me. I tend to keep my circle very small. So yeah, when I get in those moments, I lately have been let me reach out to somebody that makes me feel seen. And I think feeling seen is important to getting through those dark moments. I mean, I feel added pressure all the time in all the ways, personally and professionally. I'm an only child, I have aging parents. Seeing what the economy in the world is going through and knowing a lot of people are living very check to check is scary when you have to take care of somebody in probably 5 to 10 years. So there's pressure from that, of being this only daughter that has to take care of 2 parents really soon. And then the pressure of taking care of people's careers is real heavy, because their life is in your hands, but they trust you to do that. But it's a symbiotic relationship, right? My life is also in their hands. Their performance, dictates how much money we make and, how further along we get in our journey. So it's very give and take. So there's pressure on the artist side for themselves, and then for their team, and then for us vice versa, right? There's a lot of pressure for us to show up and do our job to the 10th power for them. Right now, I feel really confident in trusting others with my career. I've been thankful and blessed enough to attract the kind of people that take this very seriously and still have a fun time, because we are in the music business. It should be fun. But everyone that I work with is a serious musician. They take themselves seriously. They show up at 110% most of the time. And then when they're not at 110%, I try to be there to fill some of that space. So it's a very give and take relationship. So right in this moment, I feel like I trust everyone whose career my hand is in, or has my career in their hands, if that makes sense. Mentorship is incredibly important, because it goes back to that thing where I was talking about being alone. You find out through these conversations that, oh, my mentor has been through this exact same thing, or she's had similar instances where she doesn't feel supported or feel seen in her position, even as the CEO of a company, right? Because my mentor is a CEO, I'm a CEO. And so, yeah, the mentorship is super important for me right now, to just have somebody that I can connect with, that can see me, and there's no judgment on any sides. And then from the mentor aspect, I've mentored people. It's a really heavy job, in my opinion. It feels like a big duty. That's a lot of pressure too, is someone's coming to you and looking for the do's and the don'ts and the blueprint to getting to your position. They want to get to where you are, and you kind of have to tell them okay, well, I did this, this, and this, and oh, don't do that. That's probably not a good idea. And it could be a lot of work, but it's all very, very necessary, especially as women in the business. Coming out of last year into this new year, I closed a really, really big deal for my company probably the largest deal I've ever closed in my life. And I feel like knowing that I was going from one phase of my career to the next one was like, okay, I've never been this far before. I should probably ask some people that have, and I think that was the moment where I was like, let me lean on some other people right now because I don't have it all figured out in that regard. Like I've never CEO'd a company and CEO'd a team of like 7 people. Like that's a new experience. So yeah, I just was just like, yeah, this is the next phase of my life. I'm gonna need somebody that's done this before. I actually once said I'm not a good team player unless it's my team. And I don't think that that's ego. I think that's just awareness. I know that I function best in a team setting that I can not be in control of because I'm not in control of anybody, but like where I'm leading the charge, where the vision is mine, I definitely perform better in those sorts of teams. So I wouldn't say that I'm not a team player, but I'm a much better team player when it's a team I'm leading. And thankfully, I'm in a position to have worked my way to that point of like having a team of people that look up to me and look to me for the direction. Now, being a team leader, that might be a harder one, right? Like to answer, like, am I a great team leader? Sometimes I don't think I am, right? I have moments where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing either, but it's still my vision. And, hopefully we get to the other side. And sometimes I take cues from people younger than me and I learn a lot. I think you always have to be in a position of learning, especially as a leader, because we don't know everything. Key prior to the deal was figuring it out no matter what, and always have faith in myself. But of course, the discouraging moments pop up here and there. It's like very much a roller coaster, but you're actually driving the roller coaster. That's what you have to remember is like, I'm the person on it and I'm also controlling the moves at the very bottom of it, right? But working in survival mode looks very different from working not in survival mode. When you're not in survival mode, you can focus on your creativity and put the creativity first, right? And put the mission first and the passion first. And sometimes in survival mode, you can forget the mission and the passion and the goal because you're like, I got to make sure we can pay these bills, or I got to make sure my artists can pay their bills. And sometimes I can take over. So it's nice and very refreshing. I'm so blessed to be in a position to not have to think so survival of the fittest. It's a very conflicting existence, right? To know that people need what you bring to the room, the culture, the spice, the energy, the trend setting. Like Black women are usually pretty synonymous with a lot of those terms or phrases. But then also, we're placed at the very bottom of the totem pole most times. So, kind of fighting through that and like overcoming some of that, I think is what a lot of my career has looked like, is like beating the odds, being like this kind of triple minority, right? Black, queer woman. That's a lot, right? To like kind of step above. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, as much as we're desired to be around, people don't always love us, right? They like to use us more than anything. I grew up in the suburbs. I might have been maybe one of 2 Black kids in a classroom. And so I always grew up in this environment of like, this is what the real world actually is. This is what it really looks like. It's not, and this is no shade to HBCUs or PWIs. I grew up in a world that was like very much like the real world. And that made me to have to like show up in a different way all the time, like to be prepared for the discrimination or the lack of advantage I had in certain situations, right? Or to be taken advantage of. Like I had to always be prepared for that because that's what it typically was, if that makes sense. So it's been easier for me to navigate because I think I grew up in that particular way. Yeah, in some capacity, I knew it was going to be music. Like I always loved music. My mom always played a bunch of music in our home. My grandfather put me on to music, like gospel and jazz music at a very, very young age. So I've always been into music in some way. And I knew I wanted to do something in music, just to know what it was. Really, before I got my love for music, I wanted to be an architect, which the jobs are actually very similar, right? Where you're building things and you see a vision that not everyone can necessarily see. Like they're very similar in that way. So in some ways I'm still an architect, but I just love music and I'm just building in that way. I wanted to be a music journalist. I thought I was gonna have like a music magazine, like a Word Up or Vibe or The Source. I was a writer. I'm still a writer technically. But I interned one summer at Complex and The Source magazine in the same summer, and very quickly decided that that just was not going to be the way I was going to get the lifestyle that I wanted. But I really enjoyed some of the conversations I was having. Like I got to talk to Bun B's manager and different people at labels, and that was attractive to me, just learning a little bit more about what a manager did. But I didn't leave that internship like, I'm going to be a manager. Like that never was what I was thinking about. It kind of came to me. So I started doing parties and doing different things post-college that were more in the creative world while working at like Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And at one of my parties, somebody came up to me and was like, yo, these are the kind of people that should be buying my merch and coming to my shows. You seem really good at getting them into a room. Would you manage me? And I was like, okay, cool. And that was like 2009. And so that artist, Grip Plies, an artist from Atlanta, like he kind of started my career managing and then, kind of snowballed into where we are now. So I was always kind of like in this kind of creative writing type of world. I don't think I knew which direction my career was going to take until those internships. And my mom didn't stop asking me when I was going to get a real job until I think 2017 is the last time she asked me that. And I was already working with my previous client, 21 Savage. And she only stopped asking me that because I made her my assistant and she started to see what kind of money I was making. And she was like, oh, this is a real job, So, and though I always had my parents' support, I don't want it to seem like she was like, when are you going to get your life together? Like, no, my mom has always supported me in whatever I was doing. Same with my dad. But it didn't become real until I was able to take care of myself through music. My grandmother might be the reason. She didn't raise me necessarily, but she's the home, like her home is the one I went home to from the hospital. And she's a woman of substance. She's a woman who's active in her community. She ran for the mayor of East Cleveland 3 times in her career. I watched this woman work until she was maybe 65. She's 95 right now. But she's still active in that way. So she's always been of substance. She's always meant something to the community, to our family. She's always had investments. She's always traveled. So I think from the very onset of my life, I was always of substance in that way, if that makes sense. It was never just doing stuff to do it. It always had a purpose to it. And my company is actually named after my grandmother's home, Third Hayden. That's my grandma's house. So for me, it has to be about substance. It can't be about anything else. I think impact is the only reason I do it. I think I like to be a part of history more than anything. I think anybody that I've worked with, I felt like could make history or could be someone that 50 years from now you talk about and it's made a transition in the culture, or it's made an impact in what's happening in the culture. I think that means something to me more than money, for real. Money is great because we need it, and I love money, and it's fine to love money. But I've never done anything for money to this day, The impact is super important. And working on something I enjoy is first and foremost. I can't fake it, I have to really be in it to care about it. It sounds so small, but you really can see a person when you're sitting across from them with a plate of food in front of you. And I like to think our company, our label, our team, we're very family oriented in that way. It all kind of has a bigger, longer story and purpose to it. From my grandmother's house, the name of the company, we always had dinner at the table. We didn't sit down in front of the TV and have meals. We had to set the table, mostly me because I was the girl, very sexist existence. I say that because my boy cousins got to hang out while I was setting the table, but we would literally set the table and have sit-down meals. We didn't play with that time. It wasn't playtime, but you had fun because you're, engaging with your family. So for me, that was important to like celebrate us going into this next chapter, like having a big partner like a Live Nation that believes in me and my company and the vision that I have set forth. I think sitting down and like looking people in the eyes was really important. I don't think I do a good job right now of relaxing. I think my self-care and my care practice is lacking in this current moment. Though I do take time to like make sure I'm listening to my body and I'm like, my body's telling me to sleep, so I'm gonna sleep. My mind and body are telling me to cancel meetings, so I'm canceling these meetings. So I do some of that, but I'm not doing enough of the spa days and the yoga and working out every day and going for long walks just to do a walk. I'm not doing enough of those things right now because I am so committed to the work, but I'm also enjoying it too, right? Like I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I hate my job. I don't get to relax. Like, no, I'm also really enjoying being in this space of like getting artists to the next phase. But I do need to do a much better job of taking care of myself. I don't think we grow up learning how to take care of ourselves. Some stuff that I'm looking forward to. Honestly, I feel like in 2026 we'll go home with a Grammy from one or two of our artists at minimum. I think that I'm really excited to kind of see musicality being so celebrated through artists like Steve Lacy and Tyler, Childish Gambino. There's a lot of artists out there that are putting out an output that's attracting a different frequency for the fans. Like the fans want something sticky, they want something substantive, they want something interesting and authentic, and I think our entire roster is that. So I'm very much looking forward to filling that space, because it needs to be filled. Definitely looking forward to that. And in this moment, I'm looking forward to taking a nap, for real, like getting on the plane and just going to sleep, because there's been a lot of social output for me. My battery is getting low, and my body's telling me to sleep real soon. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Yeah, this stress ball, I got it at this summit, Jump Global, just now. Because I really do get really nervous when I'm speaking in front of audiences, because mainly I'm like a behind the scenes person. So like being in front of people and like pouring out your life is like kind of scary. And the stress ball, for whatever reason, like literally de-stressed me while on the stage. So it also really helped during this interview of just like being able to catch my thoughts, because sometimes your thoughts can escape you when you have a million things going on in your brain. And so this was keeping me like down a bit, if that makes sense. In a good way, not down like sad. Yeah, grounded.